This is Ted Drever, and you are listening to the Forging Better Humans podcast.
All right, so we just finished a pretty intense roll session. It's Tuesday night. It's our normal 6 p.m. We just wrapped that up. Was talking about a seminar that these two guys went to over the weekend at 10th Planet in Jacksonville. So I'd like to take a second to introduce Terrie. He's our coach from American Combat Club. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Been a professional MMA fighter, jiu-jitsu fighter, grappler for years, wrestler for years. Iron Legion isn't a gym where I have a bunch of CrossFit coaches pretending to be jiu-jitsu coaches. We actually work with American Combat Club. Terrie comes up every single day from Orlando to bring the expertise that American Combat Club can bring to the mats. Here to Iron Legion, you get to learn from the best. American Combat Club brings that experience. So I kind of wanted Terrie to talk about what they experienced at 10th Planet in Jacksonville, why they went there, the importance of why they went there, because a lot of the lineage that American Combat Club brings to Iron Legion was there at that event. So I'd like for him to kind of explain that a little bit to you guys. And then we had Joe, who took the opportunity to go as well, and his wife, they went and participated in the event and kind of talk about his perspective of it as a white belt, just starting out. We're first year, for a little over a year now into jiu-jitsu, and what it felt like seeing one of the masters at work there at 10th Planet in Jacksonville. So Terrie, I'll have you take it from there, kind of explain what you saw for the weekend, who you went to see, why he's important, and the lineage as it applies to us here at Iron Legion.
Yeah, so we went up to 10th Planet Jacksonville. Shout out to those guys. They ran an awesome event, and they do a lot of them, actually. It's a really cool facility. I like the way that they run it, the vibe, everything that they've got going on there. But we specifically went up for their jiu-jitsu camp that they did this past weekend, so that we could get an opportunity to learn from the legend himself, Jean Jacques Machado. So we pretty frequently get access to me, obviously access to my coach, the great Mitch McElroy, and his coach. Every several months or so we get access to him as well, and that would be Elio Seneca Moreira, Seneca for short, that's his nickname, but that's even myself, that's the furthest that I've had access to our lineage. So our lineage from the jiu-jitsu side comes obviously from Brazil, but it started with the Machado brothers in Brazil, Gracie Barra, Carlos Gracie Jr., and Seneca came up through them in Brazil, and in the late 80s, when all the Brazilians were immigrating to the U.S. to bring their martial art here and capitalize on the lack of it in our country, we had a lot of great wrestlers, but we had no real access to submission grappling outside of judo and maybe some catch wrestling here and there, but it was all pretty underground. And when they came over here, they primarily settled in California and places like New York. And when they did, they brought jiu-jitsu with them, and it was a long, arduous process for them. A lot of them came over here with nothing, and they started out in garages and warehouses and built academies and made friends and built connections that way, and quite literally what you would picture to be the American dream. And when the Machado brothers came here, they started making connections and building friends and doing all that stuff and building their own schools, and they reached out to Seneca back home in Brazil and asked him to come and start bringing Gracie Barra here. And Seneca was one of the people who helped spread Gracie Barra into America. So if you've seen a Gracie Barra gym, you can thank Seneca for being one of those people to help spread that, as well as being one of the people who helped found the IBJJF. So if you've ever competed in one of their events, again, thank you, Seneca, for that. But Jean Jacques Machado is the one that Seneca recognizes as being his coach or maestro, right? His master. And So we went there this weekend so that we could go a little bit further back in the lineage and actually experience that closer to the roots of the tree, so to speak. And it was overall just an awesome event. And my students here in CrossFit Iron Legion have only gotten to experience Seneca a couple of times. I've gotten much more exposure to him over the years, but when we were there, it was just really cool to see the overlap. And after hearing the stories from Seneca about how Jean Jacques had the most beautiful jiu-jitsu he'd ever seen in his life with one hand. If you guys don't know anything about Jean Jacques, he had a birth defect, and he doesn't have a left hand. He's only got a thumb on his left hand, and he was destroying people. It didn't stop him at all. So just even further into the grit and tenacity of him building the American dream for himself here in America. So we went there to go and experience that, and it was just all around a really, at least for me, a very beautiful experience to be able to not only after all these years get to finally meet and talk to him and learn from him myself, but to share that with my students, continuing our lineage, going from the Machado brothers to Seneca to Mitch McElroy to me, and then to here at CrossFit Iron Legion with my students here.
So when you were there, Joe, I noticed just this week, your game is almost doubled. I don't know if it was just a weekend, all of a sudden they gave you a shot of steroids on Saturday or Sunday while you were there, but
acai.
Yeah, was it the acai and the os? Maybe it was saying os all weekend. I don't know. Whatever it takes, but I don't know. I feel I've always felt like your game's pretty superior, pretty fast, but it's pretty dialed in this week, and I don't know if maybe you could talk about some of the stuff you learned while you were there, or...
Yeah, I mean, it's my first year doing jiu-jitsu. I'm not good by any means, but prior to signing up for this event, I actually messaged Terrie. I'm like, hey, do you think this would be beneficial? You think it would be good? It was 3 months before the thing. So I was nervous that, it might be something too advanced for me or something where I'd go in there, I'm just not really getting anything out of it. It's a bunch of techniques.
That's a good,
you know what I mean? So, but he's like, no, it looks good. I told him people that are going. He's obviously familiar with all of them. And he's like, yeah, do it or whatever. He's like, I'll go too. And I was like, hell yeah. Definitely, now we're good.
Well, now it's good,
So he'll be able to really
somebody's got my back.
Dial us in. We're good. So being there this weekend, it was good. I've gotten the perspective here in the gym. I've gotten to go to convocation. So it was cool to kind of go outside of our program too, get a different perspective, different teaching styles, and really get to experience a little more. It's 4 different, obviously, apart from Jean Jacques Machado, there's 3 other instructors. And honestly, a couple of them went over a lot of guard passing stuff, which is great. It's stuff that I can, definitely use all the time, all day, every day, and I was really appreciative of that. And not only that, but it also, not that you ever question what kind of program you're getting, but some of the stuff that was taught is being taught here, has been taught here. So it gave you a validation in the program,
sure.
This is a good product being put out. So that was actually, for me, really cool to see and really motivating. And then honestly, it was interesting too to see Terrie whenever Jean Jacques Machado was teaching his seminar. He's been doing it for 16 years. So Allie and I, my wife, she went with me. We're looking at this thing with a macro lens still. We're still picking it up, minor details for certain things. We're not really catching them just yet. We're picking it up as we go. So he's looking at the stuff that really isn't new to him, but he's picking up on little details. So I was watching him, he's taking a bunch of notes, and he's coming up, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's breaking all these tiny little details. And that was also motivating because I was like, man, that's cool. To get to that level, it also gave it another extra, I want to get to that level. So really, getting more hyper-focused, paying attention, not just let me just learn this move. Let me figure out why this move works, how it works, mechanically, with the body, not just let me just copy or regurgitate what I'm being shown. So all in all, that was, pretty much one of the highlights for me. And then obviously towards the end, this is program we have. We know what our lineage is, and being super close to the roots. Once in a lifetime opportunities for me. How many times are you gonna get to go to a seminar with a legend like that?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
You honestly, at this point, you can't go any further down the tree in the lineage without going to Brazil. You can't.
And they came here to us.
The next would be going to Brazil to see Carlinhos, and then after that, the further down the lineage, they're all dead. That would be it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're taking notes. You've been in this game for 16 years. Like, the learning never stops, does it?
No,
it doesn't. Like,
yeah.
And that's the thing that I try to explain with some of our members here, that, like, that to me was one of the things that drew me to jiu-jitsu. It's just like, there's so much to learn. And I think that actually stops people sometimes, because it's like, oh, I'll never figure this out. But it's like, it's endless. And like, you can learn as much as you want to, as much as you need to. And I've always had the thought that, like, once you stop learning, you start dying. And jiu-jitsu kind of gives you the opportunity to just like jump into a world where it's fucking endless. Like, you can learn and just that. 16 years into the game, you have your black belt, you've been doing this a long time, you're still taking fucking notes. You're still like, well, let's get down to the tiny little bitty things. There's always more, right?
Yeah, I still, every day of my life, study jiu-jitsu. I really harp on this all the time. I can say all these things as much as I want, but until you guys actually see it for yourselves, it's hard to really understand what I mean. But I always talk about it like I'm not special. I'm not physically gifted. I'm not like super talented. I'm just a culmination of years of just beating on a piece of steel until it turned into something. And just like any other, like if you're forging a blade and you want that edge to stay sharp, you got to keep sharpening it every time you use it, and it's the same thing here. Like the game is constantly evolving, especially in the last 15 years with everybody's ability to communicate through social networks and the internet, and everybody's sharing everything now, and everybody's just constantly trying to innovate and make things better and evolve the game. And that was one of the biggest things that I respected about my coach Mitch, is that he refused to stop evolving with the game. I've been doing this for 16. He's been doing it for 25 or 26. He got his black belt the year I started training. And he's a 4th degree black belt now, and he still is watching video and pulling the higher guys aside, like me or Sal or whoever, and asking us to work through positions with him, and just watching all the rules that we do and the stuff that we're working on and trying to build on it himself, and asking our opinions about, what do you think about this thing or this transition or whatnot. And it's like you said, like you have to keep moving and keep evolving or you die.
Yeah. I feel like there's just so many people out there that just get into something hoping that at some point they'll finish it. Right?
Yeah.
This isn't that game. Like, even with our CrossFit training and our strength and conditioning and weightlifting training, like, there's no fucking done. Like, it's you just keep learning, you keep evolving, you keep getting stronger, you keep getting better, more confident, these types of things. And there's just so much more to learn. It's now with CrossFit, there's a lot of avenues you can continue to learn down the road, but there's only so many ways you can do a deadlift and a snatch and a clean and jerk, right? You can do 1,000 fucking times, you might get a little bit stronger, but at the end of the day, you're probably going to run out of things to learn on that. There's a few ththings, tips and tricks you'll learn along the way, but jiu-jitsu, man, it's just fucking endless. It just seems like it's this. There's so many different styles, and like you're saying, it's just it continues to evolve, and I think that's really cool. And taking advantage of an opportunity that you guys had, I would have loved to have went. My brother had a 5K race, obstacle course race up in Gainesville. I was supporting him on that, which was really cool. We'll probably do a different podcast talking about that, but that's where I was that weekend, or I would have loved to have been there with you guys. But I wanted the members to hear about it, and I guess the world now, because we're a podcast that's like super popular. We had like 25 downloads the other day, so we're fucking awesome right now. We're like rocking. But yeah, so just kind of wanted to get you guys here to just kind of give a debrief on what that is, and what jiu-jitsu is kind of bringing to your life, the training you do here at Iron Legion. Like, Joe, if you wouldn't mind kind of breaking that down a little bit, how it goes into your day-to-day.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been in law enforcement for the last 7 years, initially local law enforcement, and then the last 3 federal law enforcement. And, before I even get into anything, I just have to say, if you work in any kind of law enforcement whatsoever, if you're not training any martial art that gives you the tools to control somebody, you can control in an effective way, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing the people around you a disservice. And I take full responsibility on myself for not doing that and starting that from day one. I totally regret not doing this from day one. I mean, you see the culture and everything going on nowadays, you know, it's just not good for law enforcement. So I think it's important for everybody to even just, you know, bare minimum, just get to like, you know, get you a year and do something. I look back now and I'm like, somebody with 6 months of training back then would have, you know, my size, they would have destroyed me, absolutely destroyed me if you just go and talk about hands-on. And that's embarrassing to really think about back then. So for me, this has been completely life-changing as far as that. I'm not a big guy, so I'm a small guy. So for me, I think it's an absolute necessity. You know, bigger people, you might be able to get away with it, sure. But I think that also sometimes gives my colleagues a false sense of security. And, you know, I'll say this to anybody's face like that, because you don't know when you need it until the day you need it, and then that's when you're going to regret it. So for me, when I started incorporating this program, you know, I was doing CrossFit for the first 2 years, consistently coming in, you know, 4 or 5 times a week, loved it. And then this came into my life, and it completely blew up my world. So that first, you know, even now, I can't even lie to myself, even now, just the cardio in this, just the general, like, working out and doing a WOD or whatever is nothing compared to going in and rolling. It's a totally different story. You know?
Fight cardio is different cardio, man.
Exactly. So,
it's different.
Even just that, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I'm just working out just for the sake of working out with no purpose to it. And so now it's like really geared myself to being prepared for that one day where I have the confrontation with somebody and I have to either fight for my life or, you know, my partners, because that's something that we can't just think about ourselves. And in a job like that, you have to think about the people around you. You're just a responsible citizen. You got to think about the people around you. If something's going to happen, are you going to jump up and act, or are you just going to sit back and let something happen, you know?
Right.
So not just for law enforcement, I think it applies for everybody. So, you know, training out consistently, it's improved not only my physical health, my mental health. I look through, even just at work, through a different lens. And jiu-jitsu really puts you in the moment. It makes you slow down and really think about what you're doing. And that's translated over to other parts of my life as well. Not just that. So like at work, oh man, I got all this deadlines, whatever coming up. Take a breath, sit back, you know, what are your priorities, and, you know, get your stuff done. And that's how you have to be on the mats. You know, you're going to a certain position, whatever you're pinned, like you're going to, you know, panic, freak out. No, like what are you going to do to work yourself out of that rut?
Right.
So, you know, not just the physical, the mental, across the board. And I've tried to get my, you know, some buddies in here. I've had a couple that are buying in, but, you know, trying not to be that annoying guy in people's ear. But, you know, sometimes I have been. And I got one guy here coming here to try a class, so, because I think it's that important. And even just members of the gym, I think, you know, I know you guys don't see the rolling part at the end because everybody's gone by then, but I think if you just came in and try a class out and, you know, even just stick all the way till the end, just one class, you see how it feels. If you think it's not for you, cool, it's fine. But I think you'd be pleasantly surprised, and might even, you know, shock you to think, you know, hey, what have I been doing with my fitness this entire time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's always the part that everybody's initially intimidated by, and then a few months in, they're like, let's get this fucking class over. I want to wrestle.
I want to wrestle. I want to start.
And then as you get higher into the belts, they're higher, like, purple belts are like notorious for wanting to skip class and just jump in at the end, wrestling live, and I'm fucking guilty of it because I did it for years too.
Yeah. Well, and it's beginner friendly. You know, we had somebody tonight that walked in, tried a class tonight, and I mean, obviously they didn't do the live rolls at the end, but they jumped in and had fun. We sat over here and talked afterwards. She's just like, I had a whole different picture as to how that was going to go. She's like, that was really doable for me. She never done it before. Yeah. It was cool. And just, those are the people that I'm looking for. You know, the people that are at least willing to take on a challenge and come in here and try something a little bit different, put them out of their comfort zone, and find out that I can do this because I got the support of a great coach. People around, the people that are training in here are all in this together. You know, we're all trying to make each other better. So it's a lot more accommodating for somebody to come in and try something out, because we know at the end of the day, there's a reason why we do this, right? We want to do it because we want to take care of our families, take care of our community, and all that, you know, and our brothers too. So,
well, and it's not, you can't be done by yourself. Everybody who's intimidated, thinking that they're going to come in and get beaten up. I mean, I went through that phase where I was just so focused on myself and being the best fighter that I could be that I took everybody as a challenge, and It only lasted a couple of years, and then I figured out really quickly that nobody wanted to train with me anymore. And because I was just hurting people, being an asshole, and then I realized pretty quickly, like, oh, I'm not going to get any better because I have nobody to fucking train with. And everybody's kind of worried about that. That's like their initial thing, like, oh, what if I get hurt or I look stupid or things like that. And this is, especially in our lineage, this is all about community. This is all about everybody getting better, everybody working to make each other better. And it's very similar ideology to what you already have going on here at the gym, which is why this program meshed so well and why we started it.
Right.
And this is also, for me, a fantastic opportunity for me to take something that completely saved my life and share that with other people and hope that it does the same for them, because I came up as an abused, troubled youth. I was getting arrested. I was always in trouble. I was doing community service, all kinds of stuff. And, it just... if I hadn't found wrestling in school and that led to other martial arts, I mean, I'd be in jail, I'd be dead, I'd still be a drug addict. Like, I wouldn't be the person that I am.
You and Joe would have a different relationship.
Very, yeah. 100%. Joe would be walking by my cell going to interview people. It's also something that I don't look at this anymore as being from the selfish lens of a fighter. Fighters have to be selfish. It's my camp, my diet, my fight, my this, my that, Yeah. And you have to think that way when you're a competitive fighter, because you're the only one that's going out there, man. It's cool to have a team, but when that cage door shuts, it's just you, And this is something that, like, when we talk about lineage, this is my personal road to awe. This is going to be how I personally believe that we all die twice. We die once physically, and then we die the second time, the last time our name's ever spoken. And this is something for me that, just like our lineage with the grandmasters that are dead, they are going to live into fucking eternity, right? As long as I'm alive and I have students, and when I die, they have students, and it goes on and on and on. I'm forever attached to that lineage, and my name will continue to be brought up long after I'm dead. And this is my opportunity to give back to my community. I'm not here to, like, just be the fucking guy on top. Those were cool days, but the sun always sets on that. And now it's my opportunity with this program and you guys here to pass this on. Something that gave me so much, made my life so much better, made me a better friend, made me a better husband, made me a better business partner, it made me a better everything. And I feel grateful every day that I wake up and I'm able, no matter how tired I am or frustrated I am or emotionally drained from having, all this stuff going on in my life like we all do, I at least know that there's meaning behind it, that I'm helping people. And I implore everybody that watches these classes or sees me walking through the gym, ask questions. Talk to me if you want to. I don't care. I know that I have RBF and I look like I'm not very welcoming. But
we talked about that a couple episodes ago. You might want to go to podcast 1, I think.
but I'm not here to be some intimidating guy that wants to whip everybody's ass. That's not. Those days are long behind me. I'm here to help everybody grow and get better and, cement my own lineage, and carry the torch that has been passed to me from Jean Jacques to Seneca, from Seneca to Mitch, from Mitch to me. And now I'm trying to pass that on to you guys. And that's really why I'm here. And I know that a lot of you guys outside of the program don't really know that, because I'm always so busy, and when I'm here, my time is very focused on my students. Like Joe mentioned earlier, by the time my classes are over, at the end of the day, you guys are all gone because the gym's usually closed by then.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're I'm just super glad that we got the opportunity to go and see more of the lineage and get to reinforce all this stuff that I've been preaching for the last year in this program, and just further my agenda of trying to help this gym and this culture grow even more and mesh the two cultures together.
That's been a good addition. And that's the, with Iron Legion, it's knowledge is our product. I heard Paul brought that up on a podcast last year. Knowledge is our product. So having you on the staff, your knowledge is a product that you are giving to our members and our students. Our knowledge on the CrossFit floor, my knowledge on our weightlifting floor, our staff of coaches, what we bring to the floor for our members, I think bar none, is probably some of the best training you can get in Central Florida. By meshing all of this stuff together, you're getting hands down some pretty badass coaching right here. So if knowledge is our product, we're putting out a pretty badass product. So, and we're bringing the right people to the table to train it, and we're going out and we're seeking more knowledge to bring back here to Iron Legion to continue growing and continue evolving and continue getting stronger here in our community, and then our members reap the benefits and the rewards from that, and that's what this is all about. So that's the Forging Better Humans podcast. We're going to call it a night. We're all going to go home and take showers because we smell awesome, and not together, but see y'all later. Out.